Hi everyone, Meteorologist Emery here in the Fox 19 First Alert Streaming Center for Hour 19 at 10:15, our weekend weather show we do every weekend morning at 10:15. It is a First Alert weather day because we are tracking that risk for more impactful weather as we head into this afternoon. Now this morning has been quite impactful for some. We had a few severe thunderstorm warnings earlier this morning at around, I believe it was 5:30 and 6 a.m. or so. But now that severe threat has died down for the moment. We are looking at activity to perhaps redevelop as we head into this early afternoon. Is actually looking at some updated data. And there's a conditional threat to see maybe a strong or even severe thunderstorm possible west of I-75. Areas that, of course, have been dealing with that rain earlier this morning. And even to our far southern counties could see the risk for a stronger storm or two. However, it's conditional. It's very limited because once we get into the early afternoon when that really heavy rain begins to move in, it's going to saturate the atmosphere and cut off any storm energy you need for the risk for stronger storms. Now, I do want to give you updates on a couple of things. First, we have the wind advisory. It's now in effect for everyone in the Fox 19 Now viewing area. This is in effect until 6 a.m. Sunday morning. Wind gusts could get as high as 50 miles per hour here this afternoon. This is outside of thunderstorms, by the way. So though you might not see rain, you're in the clear. Well, you're not in the clear because we're looking at some of those gusty winds this afternoon. In addition, we're also looking at the flood watch. This is in effect until tomorrow morning. They didn't say a time specifically on this flood watch, but it includes all of northern Kentucky, Ohio, Switzerland counties in southeast Indiana, Hamilton, Claremont, Brown, Adams, and Highland counties in southwest Ohio. And I will be looking at my watch periodically because there's an app we use, all the different meteorologists and emergency managers kind of look at collectively for any kind of damage reports or updates. So that's why I look at my phone or my watch periodically through the broadcast, just that way I can see any updates if there are anything that is pressing. I'll share with you guys. Okay, so that's the latest alerts we've got right now. Let's take a look at radar and satellite, because this morning, I'll tell you what, it was lit up like a Christmas tree because of all the showers, thunderstorms. Fortunately, we didn't see what Louisville had. They had a lot of hail in some of those thunderstorms. And in fact, we had hail reports down there reported up to 2-inch diameter, which I believe, if I recall, the criteria or like the comparison is like a hen egg or a lime, I believe. Larger than a golf ball, we'll put it that way. So very large hail down into Louisville. Those cells died as they arrived here, as we kind of expected. Of course, meteorologists Aaron Ashley and Steve Horstmeyer kind of kept you updated with this first alert forecast the last couple of days with this activity as it was been moving in and it was going to fall apart. And that continues to, that's what happened. We had a couple of warnings, sure, but the activity really fell apart as it arrived. And just because it was pretty weak, there was just not as much storm energy. However, as I mentioned, areas west of I-75, our southern counties today, could have some destabilization or the resurgence of more storm energy heading into this afternoon. I was just looking at the updated data. Folks at the National Weather Service were all in agreement on this. Between noon and 4 o'clock, there's a conditional threat for stronger storms. Southeast Indiana, southern counties, well, particularly southern counties here. Down here, it's just been too wet and too really cloudy at this point. But areas here could see another potential risk of stronger storms later today. Now, it's conditional. Like I said, there's going to be a couple of things that have to happen. Got to see more of this clearing. That's one thing. Secondly, with the clearing, you also got to see the winds kind of dry things out at the surface and allow for the moisture from this morning to kind of lift. That way there's more additional moisture in the atmosphere with the clearing skies. And then also, too, some of that storm energy is already going to be available with this very powerful system that is bringing in a lot of headlines for the majority of the country. Here it is, kind of on a large-scale view. So You're not going to see Cincinnati on there, but this is the low pressure spinning around Minneapolis. And this is causing, I think, blizzard conditions in Minnesota. Here is that kind of frontal system with it. We're seeing kind of that line of storms that moved through last night, kind of fading away, moving off to the north and east. There's some of that clearing we've been discussing here. Now, some of this is almost too dry, so that's why it's conditional. There's a lot of things that have to come into play here. But we also have folks in the deep south that are going to be looking at widespread severe outbreak scenarios down there in Mississippi and Alabama. So something to monitor down there. Of course, if you're wanting information for that, I highly recommend reaching out to one of our sister stations. I'm trying to remember the call letters. I think it's BRC, Birmingham, WBRC, great meteorologist down there, and also will be very busy today with that risk. Because I'm focusing on our forecast here at home. We got a lot to talk about here. So we're just going to focus on the tri-state area. Right now, though, it is getting warmer yet again. We got down to, I believe, 56 at one point at Cincinnati earlier this morning with that rain-cooled air. And you can still see some of the rain-cooled air impacting folks to our north. Still in the mid-50s in Richmond, Indiana there. Also in Wilmington, 56. Upper 50s now in Middletown, Hamilton, Lebanon, Harrison. Already the upper 60s down into Falmouth. So that really surge of warm air has really made its presence felt down there in Pendleton County. And then we're looking at the winds out there. And as I mentioned, even outside of thunderstorms, the winds are still going to be pretty breezy out there. So right now the winds are beginning to increase, especially in our southern counties. 16 mile per hour sustained wind at CVG. And the winds are a little bit lighter for our northern counties, but still gusts getting as high as 20, 25 miles per hour. And it'll only increase this afternoon. So this is kind of the quiet time for the moment. But the winds will soon increase for everybody here this afternoon. So I just updated the first alert forecast in terms of today and the next several days. I'm not completely finished with it yet, so if you want the 14-day forecast, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. It's been pretty busy for me this morning. I woke up at 2:30, saw that we were going to see a tornado watch, and I had to get ready and come into work a little bit earlier. But, of course, I wanted to do that. That way I could keep people posted and try to give that important information out there for the fact that we've got a flood watch, wind advisory, tornado watch at the time. But now the tornado watch is canceled, so that's some good news here for us. But this afternoon, we're looking at scattered showers, maybe a few thunderstorms, and some of those thunderstorms could be strong with some strong gusty winds and maybe some hail. But again, that stronger threat is rather conditional here. So let's look at a forecast model here, which is going to give us an idea of what we can expect here this afternoon. Take a pause real quick, look at our Facebook comments and questions, and then we'll move forward. All right. Betty's asking, will it dry for a long period of time? So, defines what you mean by a long time. So it's going to dry out for a couple of hours, but we're going to see a resurgence in development of activity as we, and with everybody commenting, asking questions about this in particular. We'll just dive into it. So, see by noon, 1 o'clock, there's more additional development to our south and west. Again, that's where the best storm energy is at right now. So this is not surprising by any stretch. And this activity is going to try to creep its way back into the tri-state because that's where there's kind of this narrow line of storm energy trying to funnel its way back into the Fox 19 now viewing area. Now, as I mentioned, it's just going to be a straight line wind scenario as well as heavy rain, maybe some hail, maybe. But the tornado threat for us, I believe, has kind of gone at this point. We're just looking at that conditional threat for gusty winds. But quickly, by 2, 3 o'clock, this thing is going to really expand and bring with it a lot of moisture. So this is where we're going to see that heavy rain scenario come in. And after 3, 4 o'clock, that severe threat is pretty much gone. Because of the fact that the atmosphere is going to become super, I don't say super saturated, that's the actual term, but saturated enough to where severe threat is pretty much gone. But it'll still be windy. It's going to be wet. It's going to be windy this afternoon and this evening. So if you got plans this afternoon, Either find ways to stay dry or take it inside, because it's going to be heavy downpours coming in this afternoon and this evening. That's 3 o'clock. We go into 5, 6 o'clock. Still, note, repeated rounds of rain. It's just going to continue going into tonight, and then heading into Sunday morning, the heaviest of rain will be out of here before daybreak. But still, looking at heavy rain to be the primary threat with any of this activity that moves in here heading into this afternoon. Okay, so I kind of wanted to go through that because I know people are asking questions about it. Rachel asking, do I have time to go to the grocery store before round 2 comes in? Depends on the time you're going. I would say now is the best time. And also asking, how likely do you think we will have severe weather? I know you keep saying conditional, but your opinion, how likely will that be? I think low. I think we're going to see, if anything, we might have a warning or two, and I think it's going to be concentrated to our southwestern locations, or south and western locations. So maybe Owen, Carroll, Switzerland, Ripley, Decatur counties, Franklin, Dearborn, Ohio counties. Just might want to stay on guard this afternoon with that risk of maybe a stronger storm or two. And again, I think that it's going to be very limited. There's going to be a few things that have to come into play. I would say it's very limited. Maybe a warning, but for a severe thunderstorm, mind you, which is still something you got to keep an eye on. Got to be prepared for the straight line wind damage potential here. But even outside of that, I think this is mainly going to be focusing on heavy rain and those strong winds that will be moving in, even outside of thunderstorms. So you may not hear thunder, but it's going to be really strong winds. And it's not necessarily from the thunderstorm or rain, but it's going to be just the nature of this system. So strong winds and heavy rain, it's bad news for trees because, you know, this time of year there's not a lot of, the yards will sit to the point where that water just sits there. And the roots, if they're a shallow rooted tree, they could easily fall over. So that's kind of that scenario that we could be dealing with. I know Milford earlier today had a large tree down in Old Milford there. But, yeah, when it comes to severe threat, it's very conditional, and I don't suspect it to be anything worse than what we had this morning. In fact, I think it's going to be less than what we had this morning, Rachel. Amy says the sun peaked out a few times in Glendale. Yeah, like I said earlier this morning on the morning show, that's not a good sign. That allows for energy to try to redevelop. But drier air is trying to work in this region. It's not going to win because this moist air is going to win out here this afternoon. But the sun that we're going to see is not going to, if it lasts for a while, that's not good news. But if it is like a few times here before the clouds move back in, it's just going to heat things back up as we kind of expected with temperatures today climbing up back in the upper 60s and low 70s. Betty's asking, will it dry up for more than a day or two? That will be Monday and Tuesday will be dry. Let me look at my Facebook page real quick. No comments there. Okay. So some people are asking about other locations. We'll put this up full screen for you. We'll go back to the beginning. And I know some places didn't see any rain this morning. Good for you if you didn't, because everyone else is, a lot of people have been dealing with some heavy rain and some damage with winds. I know Ripley County had some damage. As I mentioned, Milford also had a large tree down earlier. But between noon and about 4 o'clock, we're looking at that window of opportunity for our southwestern counties to see maybe a strong thunderstorm or two. But watch this, how rapidly the atmosphere gets saturated. You go into 1, there's the activity growing. 2, 3, 4 o'clock, and as you can see here by 3, there's a temperature difference here, anywhere from the low 70s to our eastern counties to our western counties in the low 60s, perhaps even upper 50s. So that's that rain-cooled air. That's going to pretty much cut off that storm potential, or I should say severe potential this afternoon. Still could be some rumbles of thunder with this, but the severe threat for our eastern counties does not even appear to be the case. It's just been too cloudy. the atmosphere is a little too moist in those spots, so it's not really looking favorable for anything like that. So we're going to be focusing on the western counties between noon and 4. After that, it's just going to be heavy rain and gusty winds. So here it is in full screen again. This is 3 o'clock. We go into 5, 6 p.m. Still a lot of moderate to heavy rain. This is going to continue into the overnight hours into early Sunday morning. And then Sunday, we're looking at some scattered rain showers and cooler air. Temperatures will be falling through the day on Sunday. And as I mentioned, winds even outside of these showers and storms are still be pretty breezy. And right now the wind gusts are at best around 20, 25 miles per hour. We go into this afternoon. This is around 3 o'clock. That's when this big old wave of rain moves in. You can see wind gusts are upwards of 35, 45 miles per hour. And this is going to be, the potential that could cause damage. Even if it's not a severe thunderstorm warning, the winds plus the rain today could create some damage. So keep that in mind this afternoon. But with this, still strong winds going to continue as we head into this evening. We go into tonight, still some strong gusty winds. And then we head into Sunday midday and afternoon. Still pretty breezy out there for your Sunday afternoon. But when it comes to rainfall, we are looking at some impressive rainfall totals here in and around the Fox 19 Now viewing area. So this is around 3, 4 o'clock. You can see here it's a model, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. But do note that we are looking at rainfall totals generally between 1/2 inch and 2 inches of rain when it's all said and done, at least the heavy stuff, by Sunday morning. But we are looking at, again, heavy rain, gusty wind threats today. The severe threat is low, but it's not zero, and that's why we're giving you that first alert, especially to those western and southwestern locations that could see that potential to come up between noon and 4 o'clock. Okay. Okay, it's got some more comments coming in. People are asking about certain locations. It's your responsibility to look at the map whenever I have this pulled up here. We'll try that again. We'll show you here. You can find, I'll give you a moment, look at the map, find your nearest spot. And again, this is a model, it's just a tool, but do look for the nearest town to where you live. Let's say, for example, you live in Aurora, Indiana. Look at Lawrenceburg on this map. If you live in St. Leon, Indiana, look at Batesville. If you live in Monterey, in Owen County, look at Owenton. Kind of get the gist here. So this is the map of a model that I trust quite a bit here. It's doing a fairly good job tackling this. But we're going to be quiet for the next couple of hours. It's just going to be some cloud cover. Maybe, I think there's a couple of showers that are exiting over towards Middletown and Franklin. I can see here on the radar. But we're drying out for the moment. We go into noon, 1 o'clock. Areas to our south and west. So southern Ripley County, western Switzerland County, southern Decatur County, western Carroll County. You guys see the potential for storms development. And some of that activity could be on the strong side. It's got some storm energy it's working with. But we go into 2, 3 o'clock, that storm energy is pretty much cut off. And it's just going to be a lot of moisture, a lot of moderate rain moving into the tri-state area. Coming in from the south and west, moving to the north and east. So our eastern locations will probably be dry here for the next few hours. However, after 3, 4 o'clock, everyone's going to see rain in their county. And this is going to continue here this evening, and then tonight, widespread rain. And then we head into Sunday morning, lingering scattered light rain showers. And again, rainfall totals could be anywhere from 1/2 inch to almost 2 inches in spots. I haven't had a chance to look at the rainfall totals. I did look right around 10 o'clock, and it was about 0.3 of an inch of rainfall to, I think, is between 3/10 and 4/10 of rain that moved through portions of northern Kentucky. Now, in a thunderstorm, obviously, that could have been higher, but been pretty busy this morning. But we'll try to put those rainfall totals up for you in our next record for the app and whatnot. But, yeah, the conditional threat for strong thunderstorms will be in our south and western counties, so anywhere basically from Grant County, Gallatin, Carroll, Owen, Switzerland, Ohio, Dearborn, Ripley, Decatur County, maybe Franklin County. These areas here could see that threat of maybe a strong to severe thunderstorm. It's a low threat, but it's not zero. And it's going to be very limited. After around 3, 4 o'clock, I just showed you on that model, the atmosphere gets so saturated that the severe threat is pretty much done. But that being said, we're still looking at strong winds, still looking at a heavy rain. So storm damage or wind damage is still possible going into this afternoon and this evening. So keep that in mind. So there's going to be a threat for power outages basically from now that the winds are starting to kick up all the way until Sunday morning. So it's going to be a good idea to have an emergency preparedness kit in the event of an outage just to be on the safe side. All right, Jessica asking, is it supposed to be bad storms? Not necessarily. It's just a lot of heavy rain, a lot of strong winds moving in here this early afternoon and this evening. Wind gusts potentially over 40 miles per hour. And then at this point, we're going to take a look at the 7-day forecast. Again, I haven't updated the 14-day quite yet. There's just been a lot of things happening here behind the scenes. So let's go ahead and dive into that 7-day forecast, which we are going to be looking at temperatures falling through the day on Sunday. So it's not a typo. Sunday morning, temperatures will be in the mid-50s. Afternoon, 45. Scattered showers and breezy. St. Patrick's Day, I've cooled down. 52 degrees, mostly sunny. Then Tuesday, we're up in the low 70s, partly cloudy and breezy. Wednesday, 70 and partly cloudy, also windy. And then the first day of spring, light showers and blustery. A lot cooler, too. Could even see a little bit of grapple or maybe even some wet flakes mixing in with that rain. And a cooler day, as I mentioned, for Thursday, high of 44. And then Friday, we bounce back in the low 50s, 53 degrees, the forecast high under partly cloudy skies. Okay, people are just now tuning in. We are looking at the first alert of the day to continue here this afternoon. We are looking at showers and thunderstorms moving back into the tri-state this afternoon. So between now and noon, we're going to be dry. All of us are going to be dry. We are looking at storm energy moving in from the south and west to the north and east this early afternoon. Basically between 12 and 4, there's a conditional threat for stronger thunderstorms in our south and western counties. Pretty much from the I-70-175 split down and then west. So southeast Indiana, Carroll, Gallatin, Owen, Grant counties. You guys might see that risk for a warning, a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm not looking at a tornado threat with this. It just looks like straight line wind damage threat or heavy rain threat between noon and 4. And then after 4 o'clock, the atmosphere is just saturated and it just turns into rain and gusty winds. That being said, even if it's not a warning, there's a potential for power outages because consider the winds. Could easily knock a tree down with the saturated grounds, could hit a power line. The rest is history. So keep that in mind this afternoon going into tonight. The power outage risk still exists. And then we go into the overnight hours, still moderate to heavy rain, and then by Sunday it's just scattered light showers and gusty winds. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close things off here because I've repeated myself multiple times on this. So if we have any kind of warnings, rest assured I'll be here until meteorologist Erin Ashley gets in, she gets settled in, and then if anything happens on her shift, she will obviously come in and update you on the air as need be. We'll show that 7-day forecast one more time. And again, we are looking at thunderstorms this afternoon and windy conditions. The severe threat is conditional. I've said that multiple times here. Southwestern locations have the best threat to see anything that could come close to severe criteria. Otherwise, today is just a lot of heavy rain and gusty winds after around 3, 4 o'clock. And that's going to continue through the overnight hours. Sunday, scattered showers, breezy. Temperatures fall through the day. St. Patrick's Day, a little bit cooler, high of 52. Warming up Tuesday and Wednesday, and then getting cool again for the first day of spring. And then by Friday, partly cloudy and a high of 53 degrees. That's going to do it for us. If we have any updates, I will go live on Facebook and YouTube. And, of course, if there's a warning, I'll go on the air on Fox 19 for updates on that. But in the meantime, though, I'm going to do some more digging on data, give you that 14-day forecast on the First Alert Weather app as well as on the 24/7 weather streaming channel. Make sure you have ways to receive alerts. As I mentioned, it's a conditional threat for stronger storms to our south and western locations, but the threats today are going to be the heavy rains and the gusty winds. Wind advisory in effect until Sunday morning at 6 a.m. A flood watch in effect for portions of the tri-state area until Sunday morning. Of course, you can find out more details on that on fox19.com/weather. Have yourself a great Saturday.